You've heard about the controversy over this year's Oscars being overwhelmingly white, but according to a new study out of the USC, the Oscars may just be the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the diversity problem in Hollywood. Analysis of over 11,000 speaking characters found only about 33% were women. Over 50% of stories featured no Asian character, 22% featured no black character, and only 2% of speaking characters were LGBT identified. Joining us now to discuss is WSJ Features Senior Editorial Director Christopher Farley. Chris, welcome. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So this study looked at, I believe, 10 big media companies, examined films, TV series, digital series, and pretty alarming stuff. Do you think that this surprises anyone in the entertainment industry?
I don't think it surprises anybody, but what it does, it gives a framework for discussion. People had a lot of anecdotal evidence, but now they have some numbers to say, here's what's really going on. Here's a picture of life on the ground here. I think when the Oscars came out and people were talking about Oscars so white and seeing the second year in a row in which there were no people of color nominated for any of the acting awards, there wasn't a whole lot of sympathy in some quarters for the fact that actors weren't getting awards. I mean, come on, they're actors. They're already being rewarded with their lives. This shows the problem. It isn't just what you're not seeing on screen. It's what you're not seeing behind the camera, in the boardroom. It's not just about black and white. It's also about green, and that's what the study really highlights.
And it also seems to suggest that the problem begins, like you said, in the boardroom, with white guys hiring other white guys, and it all trickling down from there. Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, and it's also not just about people of color. It's also about women,
Absolutely.
too. The fact that only 1/3 of the speaking roles in feature films are women.
Right.
I mean, women are half the population. What's going on there? And the roles that they are given aren't necessarily representative. There are sometimes roles as hookers and,
right, very
sex workers and
yes.
very sexualized. And is that really good representation? So, and the funny thing is, I think, is the fact that, you know, Hollywood is about making a buck. It's not just about art. And the films that actually make money often have women in them or people of color. For example, what was the biggest film of last year? Star Wars, The Force Awakens, which starred a white woman and a black man as the lead, and that made almost $1 billion domestically. So you can make money by having diverse casting decisions. For some reason, a lot of Hollywood executives decided not to go that route, and they may be losing money because of it.
Very good point. And I think also the study makes the point that when you're trying to represent your public, the audience, you're not doing a very good job if you're looking at these percentages.
And also not just the public, but also the people who are actually buying your tickets. Studies have shown that more than 40% of ticket buyers are actually black and Latino and people of color. So they're buying tickets, they're supporting Hollywood, they might support more of Hollywood if they see themselves on screen. So Hollywood may be losing money, flushing it down the toilet by not going after this market.
Absolutely, and like you say, Hollywood's all about making money, so it's good for them to wake up there. We should mention that the study did find a few bright spots on TV and digital programming. The CW, Walt Disney, Amazon, and Hulu were highlighted as places more inclusive of women.
Yeah, that's certainly true. That it turns out in some of these streaming areas, and I mean, in terms of streaming services, in terms of sort of new media services, there may be more inclusion going on there, especially for women. But again, you keep going back to the fact that there's more money to be made.
Absolutely.
I think of Straight Outta Compton, which made over $160 million. It's the biggest, highest grossing music biopic of all time. You think of Creed, which made over $100 million, and didn't cost that much money to make. So it's not just about being a feel-good, Hollywood guy and, oh, let's give diverse roles to people. No, it's about your bottom line. You can make money with these films. Why aren't you doing that? And this study says, really sort of speaks to executives about they can make money if they take these
Very
risks.
good point. So looking at some of the suggestions that the study makes for how to change things, do any of them resonate with you, knowing what you know about the entertainment machine?
Well, again, one of the big suggestions they had is to really combat the mythology that films starring women, films starring people of color don't make money. It's not true. It's shown at the box office. You can make money this way, and so that mythology has to be challenged. Also, the whole just tokenism,
right,
where you have someone of color, a woman who's kind of there, but she's not allowed to make decisions, or is in the movie but doesn't really have an active part in the movie. Those kinds of decisions actually can hurt a Hollywood company, can hurt a film project, can hurt the way discussions in the boardroom. And so it's good to have people who are actually active participants who can actually bring their experience to a movie, to a film studio, and improve the quality of what you're putting out.
Absolutely. But what about hiring practices as well, Chris? I mean, do you think that we need to take a cold, hard look at that so that people aren't just hiring people like them that make them feel good about themselves?
Well, that's certainly true. And I think when you do that, when you have not a lot of people in the background who are making the decisions, you end up with movies like the coming movie, Gods of Egypt, which is set in Egypt, which of course is in Africa, and the lead actors in it are one's from Scotland, one's from Australia. There are no black people in the top leads of this movie, and the filmmakers already apologized for their casting decisions. Had there been people of color involved in the decision-making process, perhaps the movie would have looked different, and perhaps it might have performed better at the box office. We'll have to wait and see, but when your filmmaker has to apologize for the movie before it comes out, you have to wonder how well it's going to do. And people can lose money, and that's what it's all about in Hollywood, making money, making the right decisions, and by not making these correct diversity choices, they can lose money.
Excellent points. Christopher Farley, thank you so much for joining us.